Davidson, how's it going? I'm Wright with Waking Up Right. Today I'll be talking to Randall W. Scott III, which is the instructor and station manager of a local student-run news station, and Bailey Chalaska, who is the executive producer, representing their broadcasting/journalism class named DTV. DTV is a public education channel program by Davidson Community Schools. It airs on local charter channel 191. You can also check out their website, www.dtvnews.org. Every year they do a huge special of an important topic. Last year they did a special on gun violence and how it affected the world. This year they're doing a special named In News We Trust. In this special, they talk about the trust in media. With me right now, the teacher and station manager of DTV, Randall W. Scott III. How's it going, Randy?
I'm great. Thanks for having us, Darius.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about DTV.
Well, DTV is it's a very unique program, and it's about 20 years old. It's getting up there now, but students basically run their own TV station. So we have a cable access channel on Charter, which you mentioned earlier. But students run it all. They write, they direct, they make decisions, they do all the producing, they do the anchoring, they do the hosting. It's a really unique opportunity for students who want to get into the media field.
When did you guys start this program?
Well, it's hard to pin down a date, but we're closing in on about 20 years right now. I would say the genesis of DTV is about the year 2000. There was some forms of it beforehand, but it was never branded as DTV until about 2000.
So every year you guys do a special. Why is that?
Well, we decided a few years back, I think back in the times of Jeff Perry, that we wanted to focus on more serious news topics, more long-form things that you wouldn't necessarily see in the news every day, that explored topics that were a little bit bigger than high school, that were a little bit bigger than what you'd see on your local news. And our first one ever was called Operation Energy, and the kids looked at the energy crisis and where we were going with renewable energy and that kind of thing. And that was probably 8, 9, 10 years ago at this point. But that was the start of it all. And since then, it's kind of grown. In a couple of years, we've done 2 of these things. And we focus on different topics that we feel are important, that kids need to know, but the community at large need to know. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a really good chance for them to kind of be investigative reporters and give that a shot.
So, Bailey, you guys are doing a special this year and called In News We Trust. Can you tell me why did you guys choose this special?
So basically, In News We Trust is going to be about the kind of bad reputation media has been getting and how the trust has definitely decreased throughout the years. And I think that especially really relevant right now with the political climate and just it's really decreased in the past year. So I think it's really relevant right now, and that's why we chose to cover it.
Randy, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Bailey kind of knocked it out of the park there. We're living in a time where especially the news media has a shadow over it.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of it's not because of bad reporting. Some of it is, but most of it's because of people not having trust in it for whatever reasons. And it could be because we're so polarized. You know, if you're on the right, you watch right news. If you're on the left, you watch left news. And getting that news on both sides right down the middle is hard to do anymore. And even the news that's out there, people ain't listening to it because they already preconceived notion of what's happening, you know. And then you take that and you add it to a war against the media that the administration has waged, the Trump administration, which doesn't help things out. You know, and this term fake news is flying around and all this stuff, and we're worried about Russian robots and all this stuff that's affecting our news cycles. It's really eroding trust in what we need to know, and now more than ever, we need to have an informed electorate. We need to have important news stories, and we need to have trust in that institution.
All right. So how do you feel about the president's remark about the media, how he talks so badly about the media? How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, being a media person, you cringe every time he does that, and you cringe for 2 reasons. You cringe because, okay, you know he has followers that are just going to blindly follow that and not actually try to seek out the truth. Because that's the political climate we're in, the polarization. If you're on the right, you're following whatever he says, you know. And the second reason you cringe is because the president of the United States, that office needs to be it needs to be higher than that. You know, instead of waging a war against the media, we should be focusing on the things that really make a difference in this country, instead of trying to tear it apart and attacking certain individual news organizations. And so that's why I cringe every time I see something like that, because I know it's hurting our profession, and it's also hurting the American people when he focuses so much time on that, when there's so much more bigger problems. You know, feed the people. You know, do something worthwhile, instead of trying to just divide us and polarize us even more. And it's disappointing.
All right. So I got a question for both of you guys. What have you done to create this special?
Well, we actually took a trip to DC. We took about 8 students, and Randy came along, and we all drove up to DC, and we had a couple interviews lined up there. One at the Newseum, which is a museum all about the history of news, and we had an interview there. And we also interviewed someone from Sputnik, which is a radio station. And basically we just talked to people, and we got a lot of video for the special, and that's really where we kind of laid out our plans for it.
All right. You said you interviewed some people. Why did you choose those people to interview?
Well, the museum person, I think that's just really relevant because she knew a lot about the history of news, and I mean, she works at a museum that has like this just long history of news, so she was very educated on that and had an interesting opinion. And then the Sputnik Radio, they're actually based in Russia, and there's been a lot of, you know, political stuff with that, so we talked to him a little bit about that, and also just got his insight and his opinion into this current situation that we're in.
Do you have anything to add, Randy?
You know, I think we tried to get a broad spectrum of people to interview. We wanted to go local reporters, we wanted to get national, we wanted to get TV, we wanted to get radio. We wanted to get a lot of people. We reached out to people all over, and we also got a lot of people on the street who just wanted to talk to us about media and what it means to them and what they're going through. So I think we got a broad spectrum of people that we interviewed. We didn't get some of the bigger names we tried to get, but we did reach out to them. I mean, we reached out to the president himself, and we reached out to a bunch of other people in high media spots, you know, to try to get their take on it. We talked to trade organization people, we talked to local reporters, we talked to quite a few people in the making of this.
All right. You said you reached out to the president. So if you had a chance to interview the president, what are some of the questions that you would ask him?
Well, there would be a million of them. I think any reporter would have a lot of questions for him right now, specifically on the media. I would, you know, my biggest concern, I think, would be, you know, for some guy who's relied on the media for so long to get as popular as he is, you know, why does he attack him the way he does? You know, and there may be genius behind what he's doing, what he might think he's doing, you know, but you know, it's not all about the president. I want to make that clear. That is a big part of what's happening here, and what you see every day on the TV, right? You see him every day, but this is bigger than that. This is people in their Facebook feeds choosing sides. This is people on the street mad and angry at the world and taking it out on reporters. This is a lot bigger than just the president. I want to say that he is not responsible for all this. There has been bad reporting in the past. There are biased networks out there, but people need to know it, and they have to be educated, and they have to see. They have to know how to tell, you know, if something's slanted one way or the other. They need to know what sources they can trust. They need to know a lot of things, and I think the most dangerous part is that people in our country right now they're not as well educated on media matters, media literacy, and how to tell what's real, what's not. And there's a lot of problems with the business itself, with the way media is going itself. And this is another thing, you know, 24/7 media, social media, you know, it's all about being quick, it's all about being now, which has always been a problem in media, but it's 24/7 now, you know, and it's everywhere. And and that makes you not check sources. That makes you think, think you got to be the fastest and not the most accurate. And how fast a bad news, a bad fact can be sent around the world, it's astonishing. Okay, you tweet one thing out and it's wrong, and it's already sent around the world. The damage is done before you have a time to fix it. And when you do fix it, it doesn't spread as fast.
All right. So you talked about how, like, well, the president was making remarks about like fake news and stuff like that. How would people be able to spot fake news and like understand like what's fake and what's real?
There's lots of ways to do that. The biggest thing is you just need to open your mind to different outlets and different sources. If you know you watch a certain news station because you like what they say, that should be a red flag. Okay, you should be able to watch news sources that sometimes you don't like what they say, and try to determine the truth from there. You want to go to reputable sources, but even sometimes they get it wrong. But for the most part, if you have a reputable news source, you could go back to time and time again. They fact check. They're not biased. They're not leaning a certain way. You could go back to them. Okay, there's lots of different ways you could do that, but I would start with those two. And there's lots of websites you could go to that help you figure it out. Bailey might know some. Bailey, you got some good ideas how to check news sources or know if something's fake or not?
I think it also is just taking everything with a grain of salt, and just making sure that you're not taking everything at face value, and you're doing your own research. And I think it also is a lot where it might not necessarily be wrong, but they're definitely putting their own spin on it, their own opinion. So I think it's also just making sure that you know that their opinion is in that, and making sure that you can differentiate between opinion and fact.
All right. So, well, the president was talking about the media being biased and stuff like that. How you know a media is being biased? How would you be able to spot that? Like from a normal street person, how would you know if a media source is being biased or not?
Well, if they're always on the one side of things. I mean, you turn on Fox News, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get something that's leaning, right, if not super right. And if you turn on MSNBC, you're going to get the opposite of that. You're going to get something that's really left and leaning left that way. You could spot that pretty quick. If you see something that's always pro one side of the argument, and always anti the other side, you can figure it out pretty quick. That's pretty simple to spot, and you just have to know these things. And it's not hard. You could look up any news source and just see, okay, this is what they're covering and this is what the other one's covering. They're totally at odds with each other. You might even just want to cut that out of your diet. Cut that out of your news diet and go somewhere else that's more in the middle and that's trying to do that. And I start with local. I start with local news sources because I think it's very important to trust the local and work your way out from there.
So, is it possible for local news to be biased, or is it just like national news?
Oh no, local news can be biased as well. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that boils down to ownership and who owns the station and what kind of, if they're pushing an agenda or not. And it also goes to, these are very hard questions to answer in this short of time. But yeah, you can be biased no matter what. You know what I mean? You have to look for the truth on both sides. You have to look for the truth on both sides and listen to more than one person's version of the story and determine it from there. So, but honestly, when you're doing local news, it's more quick informational stuff. Like I'm going to know where the car accidents are. I'm going to know when the big, you know what I mean? When the big trial is. I'm going to know when I'm going to know when the snowstorm's coming, and that stuff. Right. It's not hard to debate that. You know what I mean? I'm going to know those things about my thing. I'm going to know when the water's not safe to drink. Hopefully, those kinds of things. So, those are pretty quick things that you can't take aside. You're just, hey, this is what happened.
Right. And what we found with our interviews that we have with people is that they're saying that they try their hardest to make sure that they keep their own opinions out of their stories, and also they don't really have their ownership or anything, telling them that they have to make sure that their story leans a certain way. They said that they make sure, and if there was the owner telling them to spin a story a certain way, that a respectful reporter would never do that, because it hurts their own reputation as well, not only the news station.
All right, why was DC so special?
Because I feel like DC is one of the major hubs of not only obviously the government, but it has a lot of national media as well. So I think it was a really good place to kind of center our special on. And I think that just it has a wide variety of news as well.
All right. And what have you guys learned by researching and getting interviews from this special? Like, what have you guys learned about this special?
I learned that the trust in the media really is not good. It's definitely way, way down. The numbers are ridiculously low. And I kind of knew that going in, but the numbers are pretty shocking. And we also found that the local media, while the trust is low, it's definitely higher than the national media, which I think was interesting to find out, and just learning more about our business as well, learning about media, just and kind of what goes into it.
Randy, did you learn anything new by doing this special?
I learned that this topic, I think, is more important than people think it is. And I think more and more people we talk to, the more and more I saw the need to have this out there. And I'm really very glad that the kids chose this topic, because I think it's an important one that people need to talk about, and need to talk about it in a very concise way, instead of just throwing out the term, oh, it's fake news, right? Whenever they don't disagree with anything. You need to have a real discussion. You need to have a real thought process behind it.
All right. And where will people be able to see this special?
Well, you can check us out. Our cable channel in the Davison area is Charter Channel 191, but you can always catch us on dtvnews.org. It'll be posted up there, along with all the other specials we've done, and all the work we turn in daily will be there.
When will this special be released?
That's a good question. We're kind of in a holding pattern now. We're hopefully trying to get it out by the end of the month, but it looks like we need to take a little bit more time on it and try to get it right. So there'll definitely be an April release date. We're not sure exactly when yet, though.
All right. Well, I appreciate both of you guys coming out, taking your time out your day. That's my time for this podcast. But once again, you can check out DTV Special on dtvnews.org or our local Charter Channel 191. Special thanks to our guests, Randall W. Scott III and Baylor, Alaska. I'm Darius Wright. I'm Waking Up Right. Have a great day, Davison.